Jing and I had a conversation last week pertinent to a couple of questions that were basically for calculated blood loss. And I don't have them pulled up, Jing, so you'll have to, and I don't have them written down. But for calculated blood loss, it's very intuitive in the fact that whatever goes into the system as far as its normal operation, so if during a surgery they're using saline or other irrigants for the procedure, they're already calculating how much they use. So if it's a 1,000 cc bag of saline and we've collected, this much blood, well, they can do the math in relation to how much the actual calculated blood loss is. So the difference being with our system as how it goes when it goes into the device on the screen here, it's calculated in milliliters. So it's extremely exact to the point of where they're going to be able to have exact measurement instead of if they're using a suction canister, they're going to have to use eyeball measurement to have that say like, oh, well, I think it might be 400 cc's of blood in there right now, opposed to, well, we have a digital readout right here that's going to tell you exactly. Instead of like looking at your watch, wristwatch, and looking at something digital. That's the example. You're like, well, it's about 415.
So doctor says I think they're comparing with the Japanese model, but they cannot bring it here. And then asked us to kind of try to find out. So we made a comparison chart, and I used was seems to be the top-notch brand and model. But they said if they're doing something else, the doctor's doing something else, but they have to keep a close eye to kind of really monitor it, and then in this manner, how is that conveniently designed was a question, and I didn't know how to interpret it. But
as far as if I'm understanding your question correctly, it's how are they able to make workflow easier for the staff and physicians?
They're doing their operations, and then while they will have to closely monitoring the display,
the fluid and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's automatic on that sense, and other technologies might be automatic as well via card options. So I think I did send over a competitive landscape slide that had some mobile card systems as well. The primary difference between our system and a system like a Neptune from Stryker or a Dornock unit from another company is that we are the only system that is installed into the facility in the operating theater for disposal. So what that means is that when it's full, like not our system, but another system or even canisters, they have to manage that fluid and they have to take it to be empty or dispose of it properly. There's a finite capacity on those carts for about 24 liters. So depending on what procedure we're doing, whether it's OR for ortho or whether it is a like a TURP for anything urology based, those can have an excessive amount of fluid past the limit of what those carts have. So the difference is that they're not going to have to stop the procedure to go get another cart or mid-procedure, because what they do typically is they just go into their full, and that may be at a certain time because they're going boom, 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 back to back on surgeries and trying to fit as many in as possible. But it just may present itself that, during this procedure, it happened to get full. We have to stop, switch to a different source for suction, and go cart it out and get one back in. So if they don't have enough carts to be able to do that, to be able to switch out, they have to stop the procedure, open the operating room doors, and then go down to the designated docking station. Docking station is where they empty those systems and then bring it back in, plug it back in. But also, it's a infection prevention risk, because any single time you open those operating room doors, that space is, it's a sanitary area, or it's a sterile area. So anytime you want to reduce the amount of times you're going in and out of an operating room, just because the chance for infection is so high in that area. So we do not have that problem because we're the only direct to drain system in the world. That's it. So as soon as fluid goes into the device, there's no capacity. We can do an infinite amount of fluid can go through the procedure, so no stopping and starting during a case and no procedure interruption. So that's huge as far as patient care and also interruption for a physician, because they might be looking right at a spot where they need to do, and then they run out of suction and they can't see, and then they have to stop, and that could be a difference in their professionalism as far as their quality of work that they're doing for that case. So whether it's repair or what have you, there's a lot of different things. So
you distributors usually go on like a site to see if that's appropriate location to place, or like a construction to install.
So most of our customers, international or even I can say domestic, we're in ORs, operating room, surgery centers, and then also radiology and ultrasound for a specialty procedure called the paracentesis and the thoracentesis. So for those areas, that's where we're typically installed. We can go into urology, we can go into cystoscopy, we can go into gastroenterology, GI as well. We have all those customers, but our most popular are surgery centers, hospital ORs, and radiology or ultrasound for paracentesis.
General setup, you have no experience of having trouble installation. It's not appropriate design of a structure or limitation by that.
It can be difficult and tricky because of the current infrastructure. If it's a retrofitted project, we have to just make sure that space requirements can fit into the space, and also go into that area. So doing a new project or a new build is favored just because there's less construction cost associated with it. But most of the retrofits that we do, a lot of the operating rooms have sinks on the outside, scrub sink, and they have available areas between walls or in between for hoppers and things of that nature for plumbing. We just there's no plumbing inside the room to be able to connect in the room, so they might have to drill through a wall to be able to connect plumbing. As far as suction goes, there's no suction supplied to the system at all. We rely on facility vacuum. So that's great in the sense is that if it's a new facility, most operating rooms have a very high suction level. So the difference between us and like another system would be is that they're dependent on their own vacuum, and it may be limited in, as far as how much they can get, because the facility might allow for more suction, and in the ORs for ortho or any orthopedic procedure, they want as much as they can get. So there's no real limit to what we can do as far as suction, unless the facility has a older vacuum system that needs to be updated. If that makes any sense.
Yes.
But installation, I'm here to help in that. I've been with the company for going on 5 years, and multiple projects internationally and domestic. Installation, every single project, if it's a retrofit, is different, but we just need to make sure that we understand the current space, and we work with the facilities and plant operations to be able to say, hey, I can't see in the walls, I don't know where things are at, where is everything located, and how can we retrofit this to make it work? And once we kind of get past that and they're willing to say, oh, well, this isn't that difficult, and just because it's something different and new, they understand it and say, oh, well, that's totally fine. And most installations in hospitals can be done pretty easily without major construction costs.
So they say they have multiple places, not so many, but Chicago suburbs okay, but New York, you have to ask the building owner. It's a little different from Illinois. When you are touching the wall and behind, like a modeling, remodeling,
Okay.
or modification. So they have to ask them first and all that. But okay, I'm sure your distributors are knowledgeable.
And most of the time they are for the area that they're at. So,
Right.
like for instance, Netherlands, I don't know as far as building code as much as they would, or the people they'd be able to put us in contact with. Hong Kong, same thing. In other areas, I rely a lot on that knowledge from the distributor to be able to help. But I'm here to help guide in the sense because I know the system better than you do per se, or the distributor does per se. But you may understand the infrastructure requirements a little better than I. So we just help each other work out on those things. But with the install itself, there's 3 different options to install the system. This is actually in my showroom office. So I have it surface mounted. So it's fully out and it's just mounted on the wall itself. But it can be recessed all the way pretty much almost flush inside the wall. But again, depending on, that allows for flexibility depending on the structure if we can recess the unit. Some facilities can't, and that's totally okay, and that's less cost too because we don't have to cut into a wall. We can just put it on right on the exterior wall and make it pretty easy to do. But that's as far as installation. It can be a little tricky. The best situation is if they're going through a remodel or if they're building a new facility for operating room. For radiology and ultrasound, they have sync in the room. Pretty straightforward as far as the installation goes, and unless they don't have vacuum in the room, then we're kind of we have the other options for that. Like here, I don't have suction in my office, so I use a portable pump to supply suction to the unit, and I have a lot of facilities that do that as well. If they don't have suction and they can't add a line in the facility, we can supply them with a suction pump. So pretty easy. If they were to add a line to the facilities sometimes can add it, but that's not uncommon. Maybe max is gonna be like $10,000 for a line. I've seen them as low as like $3,000. It's just shutting down the line and recertifying it. But yeah, in worst case scenario, we can run off the boom. In the OR, worst case scenario, we can run off the boom. But if you know what I'm referring to when I say that, the boom.
Yeah, I've heard before.
Okay, just a big arm that comes down inside the inside the room on the operating table, and it has suction. It's just like a big column, and we can, at worst case scenario, we can plug into that. So, but for vacuum, for suction. So the system itself, I'm gonna run through it really quickly. But yes, calculated blood loss, not a problem at all. Installation can be a little tricky, but we're the clinically preferred system. Every single time if a physician has a choice whether to use our system versus other technology, they're going to choose our system just because of the convenience of use and because they don't have to worry about anything post-procedure. The cleaning cycle on other technologies like Stryker may take up to 15 minutes plus transport down to that docking station, whereas our system only requires a bottle of cleaning solution. It's right here, it screws on before the procedure. After the procedure is done, you flip it up, it takes the cleaning solution out of the bottle, and it's done in about 3.5 minutes. So while the time they're flipping the room, the system is cleaned and ready for the next procedure. So it's a lot faster in that sense. They don't have to worry about bringing something out, coming back in, less traffic. It's contained, it's off the wall, it's off on the wall and off the floor, so it frees a lot of extra room inside the operating area. So all in all, that's a big benefit, but the back end of the efficiency of not having to handle fluid post-procedure or during procedure. With canisters, they get full, they swell, there's a chance for infection or splashing.
Infection,
So not having to handle and transport actual suction canisters themselves makes a huge difference, especially now during COVID. Infection prevention is high and want to mitigate risk at all costs, but not having to dispose of fluid post-procedure is very big, very big. All that's required for the device is one filter and one bottle of cleaning solution. They're going to connect to any standard suction tubing that's normal what they use. If there's a yanker for the procedure where they actually use to suction fluid during orthopedic, the yanker connects right onto the end of the port right there. So we can connect to any current process that they're using or any technology that they're using for the procedure, whether it's that or smoke or cautery, but any yanker, because a lot of physicians have their own preference on what brand they use. We don't do anything on that. Filter itself, it's already inserted. It's super easy to insert, just like that. It's right on the top of the unit itself. I want to show you the filter manifold and how easy it is to insert really quick. So I have a separate one here.
Yes.
Filter itself, dual port filter, 20 ppi film on the inside for the insert. They can retrieve it for specimen if they want to. All the filter is doing is preventing anything from getting inside the unit, like bone chips, any clogging, stuff like that. So once it goes inside the unit, it just helps prevent anything from getting clogged on the inside. So super simple. To insert it, caps come off from the bottom, just like so. We're going to put them in the front of our hands so the back is unobstructed. There's 2 filter manifold inserts. They can go on either side. It does not matter. So we can actually do a dual port procedure and accommodate up to 4 lines of suction to the field. It's pretty neat. All it's going to do is inserts just like that. They can even leave a filter on the other side just to make it even quicker for the next procedure. When they're done with the procedure, all they do is pull that out and flip it up, and then cleaning cycle goes. But I have this one inserted for our demo purposes. And I apologize. Say that again.
It just passed away.
Yep. Just clear bag or red bags, depending on facility protocol. That's not our decision to make. Some facilities choose to go red bag. Some facilities are okay with throwing it in clear, just regular. So again, just inserts just like so. I'm gonna take this one off the other side. Need it on there. Just showing you how to insert it. Can you see all right from there? Or do you want me to do closer?
No, it's okay. Yes. Can you see? It depends on the setup, right? The multiple view or I think speaker view.
Yeah.
I can bring it a little closer.
No
problem.
Pretty nice. Thank you.
Okay. So setting up the procedure.
Yes.
Hit start. We can enter a preset if we'd like. I don't have any selected. We can toggle on the top of the screen for max suction, or we can do a manual insert. So 760 is perfect vacuum. That's as high as it can go. I'm going to hit continue as you confirm that level of vacuum they'd like to use for the procedure. When you're ready, you're going to hit start. So I have this inserted. I'm going to grab my other end. I have, I need to make sure I turn on my pump. Sorry, no, I'm not trying to make you dizzy here, I promise.
Okay.
All right. So I have a pump there, and then I just have for suction, and then I have a empty bin as well that's filled with water just to show for the procedure. So when we're going, I'm gonna hit start. You turn light on. This fluid's gonna start to come in to the system. It's already going. It's gonna go right into the bottom here.
Nice.
So there is a graduation for reference if needed. It's